Welcome back from the break, and I hope that you are ready for this part of the lesson where we look at the application questions related to the respiratory system. Okay, here you have a diagram, okay, and the instruction says, study the diagram below to answer the questions that follow. This is basically a diagram that shows a model of the lungs. It's basically a homemade model that shows a representation of the lungs and other organs that are related to the respiratory system. For the questions, it says, identify the structure in the human breathing system, being the respiratory system, that is represented by each of the following parts. A, we see, is represented by a straw. It is an air passage that allows air to move in, so A will be the trachea. And then we have B. B is pointing to the plastic part of the diagram, and that represents the ribs. Okay, we then move on to C. We see that C is pointing at a balloon-like structure, the balloon structure. And if we think of what looks like or compares to the balloon-like structure, we know that the lungs, this would refer to the lungs, and C is pointing to what we will say the right lung, because we already know that on our left, we normally have our right side of the human body, and on our right-hand side represents the left-hand side. So C will represent the right lung. Now question 2 says, state what would happen if the part labeled E, there is E there, is moved to the position D. So E is basically a piece of a balloon that has been attached to the bottom, and we know that at the base of our lungs we have the diaphragm. So this question is asking, what do you think is happening during the respiratory system, in the respiratory system, when the diaphragm moves up or just curves like that? And the answer for that question would be, if E, the diaphragm, is moved to position D, air will be expelled out of the chest cavity. By now, we do know that when the diaphragm pushes up to form a more dome shape, air is being expelled out of the lungs. Now, question 3 says, explain why this apparatus is considered as a poor representation of the respiratory system. So the reason why this would be a poor representation of the respiratory system would be, there are no intercostal muscles to show that the chest cavity is expanding or contracting. So we just have a plastic case there on the side to represent the ribs, but there's nothing in between to show what happens when the ribs contract and also expand again during the process of breathing in and out. So this is the reason for this model being a poor representation of the respiratory system. Let us take a short ad break and we will be back with more.